What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back into JC's Pop Culture with me, JC, where you can see all kinds of pop culture content. Could be anything from movie news or what we have today, more EA Sports college football talk. That's right. It's reveal month. Hell, it's reveal week, actually. Just a few short days away from finding out some of the features, some of the details about this game. I figured it was finally time for me to put out my wish list for this game. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run through some things that I like to see. Hopefully, they'll announce some of these in the upcoming reveal. Maybe some of these we'll have to learn down the line, but either way, as news comes out for this game, I'll be reporting on it here on JC's Pop Culture. And this is kind of some things I'd like to see from the game. I've kind of grouped it into different categories. I'm going to start off with just kind of some general things, and then I'm going to go into recruiting in Dynasty / online Dynasty mode, and then some things I'd like to see in Road to Glory mode to wrap up all the wishes and shit. So let's dive in here. No further ado, my wish list for EA Sports College Football 25. All right, first up here, I think that this is something they did back in the last series. You remember NCAA Football 14? They had a companion website that kind of you could do with, it really was pretty much just for Dynasty mode. Of course, I know they had the Team Builder website as well. We'll talk more about that momentarily, but I'm talking more about the website that they built for Dynasty, where you could go on there and recruit, online, even if you weren't at your gaming system. That was pretty cool. I think that they will be able to do that again with this version, but even expand upon it to where you can just download an app on your phone, and maybe you'll be able to recruit in your online Dynasty from that app. There was a lot of cool features involved there, and I think there would be a lot of fun stuff to do, not only with the Dynasties, but maybe they incorporate Road to Glory into this somehow as well, with some things you have to do there on the app, because I think that that's something we could see is a companion app for this game. And if they do use that, I hope they use it to great links, kind of the way that they did that website on the last gen, because I thought that was really cool. And now they have even more technology and more cool shit that they could do. So I'm hoping to see that companion app / website where you can go on, look at your online Dynasty, manage your recruiting, even if you're not at your system, and just kind of different things. And who knows what extra things they could add to it this time. So that's one of the first general things I have. And then, of course, another general wish is graphics packages, right? I think this is something that Madden is really lackluster in and shit, because a lot of people, when they play it, something they complain about, because it gets boring after a while just seeing that EA Sports plain Jane scoreboard. That's one of the fun things that was awesome on the last series, the Xbox 360 NCAA football series, was you had the ESPN ticker at the bottom. The updates were ESPN's graphic package. The scoreboard was ESPN's graphics package. So hopefully they're able to at least replicate that. I know it seems like most of the announcers they've got are from ESPN, so that's why I'm saying ESPN here. But I wouldn't be against Fox, CBS, anything really. Just make it more realistic and true to life, so it feels like we're watching a college football game on a Saturday. So hopefully they get that ESPN graphics package for the scoreboard and the ticker across the bottom and everything else that they use there. All right, just a couple more general things here. Next up, this one's big, and I think obviously some way this is going to be implemented: creation tools. And for me, the biggest one, I know most people's biggest one's probably Team Builder. For me, it's create a playbook. I have to have my ability to create a playbook in there. It's one of my favorite things to do. Go on there, probably the first thing I do when I get the game. Go on there, spend a good 6 hours making a nice offensive playbook, going through all the offensive plays on the game, all that shit. Be a lot of fun. So that's right up my alley. Love creating playbooks, so I got to have that on the game. I know everyone else is big on Team Builder. Hopefully they do include it in some version. It maybe even if it's not, like last year's was, when they had the in-depth website and then you transferred it by downloading to the game. I don't know why they wouldn't go back to that. It worked so well, and it was really good, and helped save them space on the game itself, because they had it all on the server space on the website. You could go down there and not only download teams that you made, but you could download other people's teams as well. I would not be surprised if they don't include that in some version, but I'm sure that that's big for people as well. And then you could go beyond that, and I'll talk more about this when we talk about Dynasty, but even stadium creation and shit, you could go in depth with different things there. So I'll talk more about that momentarily. But before we get to Dynasty and recruiting, got one more general thing to talk about here. And this is kind of more roster / depth chart related, I guess. And this could kind of tie into Dynasty a little bit too, I think. But the specialized positions, right? You guys, we've seen this on Madden here in recent years. They started incorporating it, and I thought it was a great addition. One of the few things that Madden's done right is incorporating those new specialized positions to the depth chart. Your power running back, slot receiver. We've always had like third down running backs, but now they really went beyond it. Rush ends, rush tackles, sub linebackers, your slot corners on defense, your slot receivers on offense, which is awesome, because if you remember back in NCAA football 14, yes, you had formation subs you could utilize, but if you wanted a guy to be in the slot all the time, you had to make him your third receiver. So you run a 2 wide receiver set, he's not even on the field if you haven't put him on there in your formation subs. So hopefully they add those specialized positions. But I think for college football, they talk about wanting to make it more just college football specific, one way that they could do that, I think, is go beyond it and do school slash scheme specific positions, because in college you have all these different alignments, especially on defense, and you have these crazy position names, the Spears, the Bucks, the Stars, the Jacks, all that shit at different places. Who knows what the hell they call it at any given university, but they always have these specialized positions. And wouldn't it be cool if every program had that? I don't know if they're going to go that in depth with it, but I think that would be really nice to see. If I'm at WVU, the school I like to follow, I want to see the Spur and the Spear on the roster, instead of having to figure out, all right, which one of these positions am I going to make the Spear, which one of these positions am I going to make the Spur? Because if you only have 3 linebacker positions on the roster, a left, a right, middle, and a right, and your team runs a scheme with 4 or 5 linebackers on the field or some shit sometimes, something crazy like that. So I think those specialized positions, team specific, would be kind of cool addition there. So that's kind of all my wrap up, my thoughts there on the general wishes. Now let's get into the juicy stuff here when we're talking recruiting / dynasty and online dynasty. And I think we'll lead off here with the recruiting side of it. How about the ability to flip commits before signing day? Something we've never really had on, the college football video game. Pretty much once you get a guy and he commits to you, that's it. It's over. It's locked in. He's your guy. There are some guys that look like they're leaning away and then you flip them on signing day in that way. But I'm talking about a guy that's committed and, then National Letter of Intent Day rolls around and he signs with another program. Because how often do we see that, especially in today's day and age? Someone commits somewhere and that doesn't really mean shit down the line, because they'll commit, somewhere all the way back in April, then, December 20th or 21st, whatever the date is, rolls around for signing day and they sign with another program. That happens all the time. So I think we should be able to have that. There, want realism in this game, that should be able to happen for sure. Maybe it's a soft commit versus a hard commit thing that they enable in there. You never know. Something like that could work. But I definitely think being able to flip commits will be a nice addition to recruiting if they're trying to make it more realistic. And, speaking about the realism, we know that the transfer portal is going to be involved in this game, but I personally am hoping to see it like almost as a separate recruiting database in Dynasty and online Dynasty. So not only will you have like recruiting and like you always had, at your main menu, you'd have Play Now, recruiting, and whatever other options were there. I think it would be awesome if you had Play Now, high school recruiting, transfer portal recruiting. And so they're 2 different databases. They function 2 different ways as well, because I think that's the other thing when I talk about recruiting here is one of the things I've seen on a lot of people's wish list is talking about the style of recruiting, because some people really loved the point system that NCAA Football 14 implemented, kind of making recruiting simpler and shit. But other people liked it when it was more in depth and you went back and you actually had to call the prospects and do some different things and sell them on things and kind of, recruit against other universities and shit. So people thought that was cool. So some people want to see that. So one way, how about you could include both? And one way that you can include both is by having high school recruiting work, as either the point system or the old way, and having the transfer portal recruiting work the other way. And you have the ability to, or even have the ability to select in settings. That would be probably the easiest way to go, and the easiest way to satisfy all camps is having the ability to adjust which one is which. Transfer portal recruiting work one way, high school recruiting work one way. Or if you want to have them both enabled the same, you could. Maybe they want them to both use the point system. I think being able to have the way to kind of edit the recruiting style would be a good feature to have in Dynasty, because people have, expressed they like it different ways. Some people loved when you had to call it and do that more in-depth stuff. I think some mixture of the two would kind of be nice to the point system we had in NCAA Football 14, because there were some cool things that I did like about the way they set it up there. So definitely think that that's something hopefully that they do in this game, is recruit the transfer portal, because that's going to be really fun to me. That's one of my favorite things, maybe even my favorite part of the game when it comes to Dynasty modes is recruiting. I've done offline Dynasties before where I don't even play the games. I just recruit every week and just kind of sim and see how the program builds from there. So to add a different layer to recruiting, to where I'm not only recruiting high school, but I'm recruiting transfers as well, that's going to make Dynasties and online Dynasties a hell of a lot more fun. And then continuing on here in Dynasty mode, we're going to have transfers. We're going to have the transfer portal and shit, obviously. How is it going to be utilized? Because I think we need to see some realism in there. Athletes following coaches occasionally when they transfer, so like say you're at a program, a coach leaves, goes to a different school. Maybe you're, a G5 and he's going to a Power 5 and he wants to bring you with him. So maybe occasionally you do have some of those recruits that want to follow the coach, or even you could take it a step further if you are the coach that's leaving, expecting coaching carousel to be in this game again in Dynasty mode. Don't know why it wouldn't be. Maybe you have the ability then to try and, convince some of the better players on your roster. Maybe it'll say, hey, select 3 players on the roster you'd like to try and convince to transfer and follow you to your new program. There's all kinds of cool shit they could do with that, but I definitely think there should be some realism, and not only involved with the users, but with the AI as well, that sometimes you'll see that happen. A coach will go to a school and then you'll see, oh, look, his star running back followed him or some shit like that. Would be cool to see. And then I think going along with that as well, you would see, just in general, players at lower levels when you're in your dynasty mode that are, balling out, having successful years. They're younger. Maybe the next year you're in your dynasty mode and you see them, they're in the SEC now, or, they've done transferred up. So I think, keeping realism with that as well. Players at lower levels trying to transfer up and shit would be awesome to see. And how far is that transfer portal recruiting going to go? Are they going to have FCS recruits in that transfer portal as well? Or even, Division II, Division III recruits could pop up in your transfer portal recruiting if they want to take it that far. You never know. It's a lot of fun the way that they can implement that. And another new thing that'll be implemented in Dynasty modes, Online Dynasty, and of course Road to Glory as well, I'm sure, NIL's function in those modes. How will it be, implemented, and is it going to be customizable to the point, because when I think of it, I'm kind of wondering if they're going to implement it similar to like salary cap in Madden, because I know some people don't like to play with the salary cap, so they cut it off. But, if you want it to be completely realistic, you're going to have that on. And same goes for college. You're going to have NIL on, but will they make it a feature to where, hey, you don't have to have NIL in here if you don't want to. You can turn that off. Same with the transfer portal. Maybe some people want to go back, play the game, in an old school way. I think that's something that they may look into, but I'm interested to see how is NIL implemented into Dynasty mode. Am I going to have a certain number of funds that I use for recruiting, have to divvy that out between high school and the transfer portal, and of course continue to try and pay guys on my roster? Are they going to want more money after they have, strong years? I'm going to have to factor that into my offseason as well. How is the NIL going to be put in? That's going to be interesting to see. And then here, this is a big one. I think a lot of people have talked about this because the limit was 12 back on the previous gen. We've seen Madden obviously have the ability to have all 32 teams. So I think that you should at least have 32 probably here in EA Sports College Football as well. So larger online dynasties, definitely big on the dynasty wishes here. And I think, how about this? Because if you guys know that, continue to play NCAA Football 14, you probably either were on GroupMe with the guys there so you could talk and kind of schedule games and shit, or, I think Discord's another one as well. But how about they're going to have that companion app that was up here at the top of my wish list and that companion website? How about having a chat feature in it that, is for the online dynasty that you're in? So if you go into, your companion app, you go to your online dynasty, you're able to select, all your different ones. Once you're in that online dynasty, not only can you go to recruiting, can you go to do other things, but there's a tab where it says, chat group, and it's all the members in the dynasty, and you guys can talk in there and schedule games and stuff. If you're going to have a companion app, I think that needs to be a part of it. And I kind of think that would be easier for them to have these larger online dynasties if they have that chat feature in there. And of course, one of my favorite parts, I didn't cover it too much because I knew I had it written here, was the ability to write stories in online dynasty. That was cool as shit on that previous generation on that website. Like I said, if they switch it to a companion app now, you should still be able to write news stories and stuff about your team, game recaps, whatever you want to write, and other people in your online dynasty be able to see that on the homepage there. That's a really cool feature. And then personally, this is kind of my personal preference here for a Dynasty Wish. I'd like to see impact players return and not use the X factors and shit that Madden uses. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of Madden in general, personally. I know a lot of people have hated on it in recent years, but I just don't really care much for pro sports. I was always more of a college guy, and I liked the impact players aspect to college. And if you guys remember back like PS2 era, they would have it to where you could select yours each year of your season. I think you had 3, maybe even you had 3 on offense, 3 on defense or something like that. I know there was multiple, but each year, it would be a part of the offseason or preseason to select those impact players. So I hope they go with something more akin to that, maybe impact players and captains instead of like X factors with all the different skills and shit that they have like in Madden. Let's keep college a little bit different. Let's just have impact players and captains and stuff, and we can select them each year in Dynasty mode. Of course, you can have the default ones that come when the game is, released, but we're able to, change those throughout, the year leading into the Dynasty. I think that'd be a really cool feature. And then another really cool feature that should be added, I think, in Dynasty and Online Dynasty mode, because I would call it athletic director mode. Maybe they call it general manager mode and shit, because there's, some programs throughout the country that do have, coaches on staff with the title of general manager that kind of focus on recruiting and scouting transfers and shit like that. So, but I think you would title it athletic director mode would probably be the easiest way. But think about Madden, when you have the ability to, play as a player, the ability to do it as a coach, or the ability to do it as an owner in your franchises. I think this would function similarly. Obviously, your ability to do it as a player is going to be in Road to Glory mode. But then here, when you come come to Dynasty mode, I think you should still have the ability to, be the coach if you want, and it would, function similar to, the previous gen, obviously with updates and stuff, coaching carousel, probably coaching skill points, shit like that. But how about then you have another mode to it, another level where you can be the athletic director. And I think when you do that, obviously you already, have scheduling involved and stuff with your dynasties. So I think it's going to go beyond that. I think you're going to be looking at things such as, stadium upgrades, stadium prices, are the students not buying their tickets and you want to make the student section smaller? I don't know. You could do all kinds of interesting shit involved with the athletic director mode. And I think this goes right hand in hand with the next thing I want to talk about here, and kind of goes back to those creation tools when I was talking about stadium a little bit. I know in the show they have the ability to stadium creator. That's a lot of fun. But I think in Dynasty, especially in the athletic director feature, if that was something that was to be added, which I think would be really cool, you should have the ability to do stadium, / program upgrades. So that if I'm a low tier school, I see 15,000, we have a few good years, I'm able to upgrade that stadium, and I'm able to go in and edit it myself. What upgrades do I want to make? How do I want to do it? And then, of course, same within the program. Maybe you're able to, increase the size. Maybe you want to build a completely new stadium on a different part of campus. All kinds of different things could go into it in that athletic director mode. And, of course, still getting to play the games and shit all the way down the line. But different fun stuff there would be involved. And I think stadium / program upgrades should be a feature in Dynasty. Even if you don't have the athletic director mode, I think that's something that still should be implemented. And then kind of going back to what I was talking a little bit about with NIL and transfer portal and shit, and the ability to have it on or off, I think customizable playoff would be good. Maybe you want to go back to the 4-team. You don't want to play the 12-team that's going to be on there initially. Or can you select more? Can I go up to damn 65, have me a college football March Madness if I want? Any number you could think of. How far could they make that? And then what if somebody wants to go back and, hey, I want to go back to the BCS system? Is that going to be an option as well? Can you turn the playoffs off? And of course, customizable conferences. I think that'll be a given. And, with the way things are heading, looks like we could be having, a couple super conferences before long. Maybe you want to go ahead and create that, or maybe you want to revert back to old school. I think that'll be on here as well. And hopefully with that, maybe there's even the ability to create, an entirely new conference that you can just add into the mix of what's already existing. That'd be cool as well. And then the last thing I have for Dynasty / recruiting is spring games, right? We've talked about this a ton. We've wanted this for years. I think now they finally have the ability to not only be building the game from the ground up, so they got a chance to incorporate this, but it's also more likely now because I think when you look at the transfer windows, that's why I wanted to include that there, because one of them is like right at the end of spring, and the spring game could be a way for you to, decide if you want to keep certain guys, or if you want to say, hey, maybe it's best if you find another program, because hopefully that's an option as well. Let's not forget, sometimes that happens now in programs. They want to move it out. They want to have roster spots to be able to recruit more transfers in. Maybe you're nearing the scholarship limit. You want to usher some guys out. Use the spring game as an evaluation period. And I think they could also incorporate that like in some type of goals system or a promise system or something. Maybe you promise somebody, hey, you can get X snap in the spring game, and then maybe you don't give them that many snaps, don't give them as many touches as you said, and they're pissed off. They don't like where they're at on the depth chart. They leave in that transfer portal window right after your spring game. So it could be another feature to add to Dynasty to just make it more realistic, and it would be a lot of fun as well just to have that spring game in there, something extra to add into off season to give you a chance to actually play, a practice kind of type scenario, but almost more of a game feel to it. People will be more likely to play that, I think, for sure. And it's something people have been clamoring for years. Give us fucking spring games already, EA Sports, for sure. All right, so that's what I have Dynasty and recruiting wise. Now, finally, we're going to get into the tail end of this, wrap it up with the Road to Glory wishes here. Guys, want to remind you, full reveal is coming later this week, May 16th, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Going to be a ton of news coming out, and as it does, I'll be reporting on it here on JC's Pop Culture. So if you're a fan of EA Sports College Football, be sure to subscribe here to the channel. But I'm also talking movies and TV shows, especially superhero, horror, and comedy. So if those are up your alley, be sure to hop along for the ride here by hitting the subscribe button. Really appreciate that. And before you head out here, hit the thumbs up. Helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm. But having said that, let's get into the Road to Glory wishes. And this one right here is kind of one of my main ones. I know some people love the way they implemented the high school feature. It started off as just the playoffs, and they expanded to kind of a full season where you can determine the length. Personally, I would be cool with just going back to the playoffs in high school. I thought the season thing was a little bit much for my taste. Some people loved it though, so maybe they don't take it away. But I think if they do, or maybe they shorten it, one thing that you could add that I would like even better than playing a full high school season would be after high school, getting to compete in maybe you go to some recruiting camps, or they set you up in some kind of mini drills, and that's what really kind of determines your ratings more so than just I guess, your performance in high school. Maybe you get to run the 40-yard dash, you get to do the bench press, you get to do cone drills and shuttles and shit like that. Kind of similar to how, the Madden single player mode, you get to determine some of your ratings by doing that stuff as well. I think that would be cool, because then also you would feel like you have more control over it, and possibly bolster your recruiting as well going into Road to Glory mode. Which then my main thing that I think would be a really cool feature to add there is, say you add that, and then you have your college choices that are piling up throughout your high school playoff run or whatever. I think you should have the ability to actually go on these official visits. Now, I think in real life you get 5. Maybe they wouldn't be able to have that fucking many here on the game. But, if you could say maybe pick your top 2 schools and get a chance to go on official visits there. And then I think it would be nice to be able to actually, see yourself go on that visit. Maybe you have the ability to select, I want a stadium tour, I want a locker room tour, I want a campus tour. EA's collected a ton of assets from these programs. Hopefully they'd have enough to be able to do something like that. But even if it's not, and you can just select like a stadium tour, and then maybe have a brief interview with their head coach or your position coach there that's recruiting you to that school, and they're deciding how much they like you, and you're deciding how much you like them, and that helps weigh into your decision. And it would just make it more realistic there for Road to Glory. That would be a huge addition for me, is this the implementation of official visits, where you get to go to whatever programs you want and maybe talk to them a little bit and maybe see a little bit of their facilities and shit. That would be awesome. And of course, my final one here for Road to Glory, I think it's a given, hopefully, given the ability, to have transfer portal on the game now. You should have the ability to transfer in Road to Glory. Maybe, after your freshman season, you're not liking the way that the systems ran there, or maybe their coach leaves, the coach that you committed to. You should have the ability to transfer. Maybe it's an off-season, choice or something. Do you want to stay at your program? Do you want to flirt with the transfer portal? All that shit. I definitely think you should be able to have that in Road to Glory. So that's it. That's what I have. I know it was a little bit lengthy, but I had, quite a few things to run through. I've been compiling them for a while, just waiting on the perfect time to put this out. I almost waited too long, because I was going to have shit revealed before I had a chance to do it. But I figured, hey, reveal week's the perfect time. Welcome to reveal week. Recording this on Monday. Hopefully have it out later today, and you guys will have the reveal coming up in 3 short days now. Like I said, coming Thursday, May 16th, 11 a.m. Be on the lookout for that. And then once that happens, ton of news here coming on the channel. But hey, these are just my wishes. What are yours? What's some cool shit that you would like to see implemented into EA Sports College Football 25 that you hope to see them reveal when they start revealing news for this game? Throw it in the comments there. Always appreciate those interactions, just like I appreciate you tuning into this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.